Hello and welcome to Read Becca. This is my weekly catch-up on things I have been reading, the things I am currently reading, and I am having a great reading week because the Thrilltober picks that I jumped into right off the bat have been fabulous so far. I finished one and I got quite a ways into another one, and both of them did turn out to be very much horror and not thrillers. So far as I can tell. So I misled myself on those, but that's all right. I really enjoyed what I've read so far. So first up, I have The Twisted Ones by Kingfisher, and ironically I got into this and realized that the blurb on the front is from Chuck Wendig, which is the other book I got into, and I just love this. This was way more horror than I usually read. It did have a lot. Toward the end, it got to be a lot for me and took me very much out of my comfort zone. But this one starts out with character Mouse, who is being sent to her recently deceased grandmother's house, who nobody really liked, in order to clean it out. And turns out her grandmother was a hoarder. And so she shows up there and finds a journal. And Mouse is a freelance editor. So she initially, her eye is drawn to a sentence because she starts wanting to edit it. So that's her lens throughout. And that really pulls us into this book within a book structure really, really well. So if you like writer protagonists in thrillers and horror, that sort of thing, you will probably like this. The book within a book element is really fabulously done as well. So that was just so masterfully done and is so integral to this story. So I won't get into the plot even any more than that. Weird stuff starts happening and the journal gets increasingly bizarre as she reads it. So yeah, it's one of those spooky books. It's very atmospheric. It's really tied to a sense of place, which is interesting because the Book of Accidents also has that element. And when I was thinking about that, I was reminded of another book that I loved so much, The Toll by Cherie Priest. And I think that is a common thread for Cherie Priest as well. And I need to go back to some of her other work too, because I keep meaning to do that. And so we really have this connectedness with place, but also I found it so interesting that for me, the characters are all so well connected. Like she comes to this small rural town, and almost immediately people start being kind to her and being friends with her. And so she has these people she can turn to in these really difficult times. And so I saw, as this went on, a lot of analogs to mental illness in the plot, toward the end especially, where we get this narrative of kind of the way that small inconsequential things are what really ground you through mental illness. The way that often emotional baggage, or there is emotional baggage that we hang on to that's not really ours in those times. And then the key of having someone alongside you that really believes you and takes you at your word, and how important that is when you're coming through a situation of mental illness or just even dark times in your life. And so I thought that was really, really interesting. But that, along with the writerly element to it, once I finished the book, I thought it was great. And then I got to the author's note, and you have to read the author's note after this for sure. But hearing kind of the technique that she used and the way that she was interacting and having an intertextual conversation with other works was so interesting, just genius, absolutely brilliant. So this was for sure a 5-star read for me. Loved it. Then I read a middle grade book, and this is one that has been on my list for a little while. This is In the Time of Green Magic by Hilary McKay, and I didn't love this one. It was great for atmosphere, as you can see, it's a very pretty house, and that is the setting of this family, who is kind of a blended family. So we've got little girl Abby is the main character, and her single father is just newly married to her new stepbrothers, Max and Louis, mother, and they're all moving into this house together, and the house is a little bit creepy, spooky. And then weird stuff starts happening where things come out of books. And I wanted that piece, the magical element and the atmosphere, to be a bigger thing, because there was a lot of kids being childish, really, with that just as something minor in between, almost, and then it ramped up toward the end. And I've seen something very similar to this, where it's clearly about the kids in a blended family coming together and finally connecting, or struggling with not having their previous parent, that the fact that their parent is moving on in their relationship. I've seen that done better, quite a bit better, in Jason Segel's Nightmares. I really enjoyed that one. And that one, it's more like going into dreams is happening. And this one, it's kind of like the blur between reality and fiction in books is blurring in this house. And so it was really similar, and it's just not quite as well executed, but I think this would be a very good read for a kid. Yeah, so it was okay. It was very, very fast. I think I read it in like 2 hours. So those are what I finished this week. And then I did mention I had The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig, and I got pretty far into it really fast, and I lost that one because there were lots of holds on it. And so I got back in the holds line, and it already has returned. So that is moving very quick, and it's waiting for me to pick it up at the library. So I will be getting into that this week. Then I read some more of my in progress, God's War by Kameron Hurley. This is still slow going because this is the only one that I don't have any deadlines on. So I'm progressing on it. And apologies for the shake. That was Ripley jumping off the table. And then I have one that I really have to get into this week, and that is my arc of The Cabinet by Unsu Kim, and translated by Sean Lynn Halbert. And this is a Korean novel. It's told in vignettes, and so far I'm really enjoying it. It's very bizarre. So it's all about this cabinet full of files of symptomers, who are people that have kind of, not quite supernatural, but oddities about them. So like one man has a tree growing out of his hand, and it has a lot of anti-capitalist themes that I am enjoying. So yeah, I'm looking forward to get into this. This is, I think, coming out this week, so I need to get onto this. I think I've got 70% left to go. So I will be digging into that this weekend as my big read. So I think that is it for my reading for now. That's a pretty light list for me. So in watching stuff, I finished up Celebrity Best Home Cook and really enjoyed it. I am continuing on with Great British Bake Off. I have the new episode of What We Do in the Shadows to watch today. I am progressing on Veronica Mars, and I realized I think I'm 2 episodes away from finishing season 3, and all the seasons up through this point have been like 20 plus episodes, I think. And I looked at season 4 and there's only 8. So I'm almost through Veronica Mars, which is while I've been chipping away at this for months. So I will be done with that. I had never seen the show before, and I've really, really enjoyed it. It's super good. So I don't know what, I may start focusing in on Bob's Burgers, because I have a lot to watch of that left. And that's one of the, I'm past what I needed to rewatch of that show. So I'm on to new stuff entirely at this point there, but I want to watch all of that series. So yeah, so life stuff, I didn't really have a lot of life stuff this week. Like work really ate up all my time this week and energy, and it was like a single problem just eating up 8 hours a day. And so I was sitting on calls about this one problem a ton, so I wasn't able to like multitask and watch videos. I'm super behind on videos. That combined with the fact that it was just like TBRs and wrap-ups deluged my feed meant I'm very, very behind this week on watching everybody's stuff. So yeah. And other than work, it was a little bit of an emotionally down week because I kind of got hit with a lot of like the memories, pictures in social media that were from a race that I used to do, and like a run, and it was as well that race occurred last weekend, and so getting hit with that was a lot. It's been a few years since I've been able to run, and the background is that I used to run a lot. I did CrossFit, and then I did Olympic lifting, and then I turned into running almost entirely. And I was not a very good or fast runner. I was not going to win anything, but I did a ton of 5Ks, 10Ks, and half marathons. And I was training for my first full marathon, and it would have been this particular race when I started having some knee problems and found out, well, initially I thought it was like all the signs were pointing to meniscus tear, which is a pretty minor, common runner's injury. So I was thinking I could rehab that. And this happened like a month before the marathon. So I wound up having to back out of that thinking, oh yeah, I'll be able to rehab this. I've already got, plenty of years of experience. And then it was not rehabbing on its own. So I had missed my race. I was not rehabbing. And this was probably beginning of 2018, I believe. I got in and saw an orthopedic specialist, got MRI, all that rigmarole, and found out I have no cartilage in my knees, basically. And that is likely due to an underlying joint disorder, more or less. And so I haven't been able to run since then, and I really miss it a ton. I hated running, but I miss it still. And so seeing all of that coming back, it was like multiple years. I had done this run for 5 years, and that would have been, like I said, my first full marathon. And then to see all the stuff coming up from the days that I did it and from the one happening this year, it was just like a lot. And then because the weather was really nice last weekend, I went to the park and just walked, and that I did a short walk, and it was like under 3 miles probably. And this is a park that I used to run at, and I kept having those, like, that muscle memory, almost like the mental muscle memory of, oh yeah, I could do this. I could maybe jog, I feel like. And I didn't do that. And then because it was so nice, I went and I walked to the library as well. And those together, the library is like maybe a mile. So maybe another 2 miles. So total, it was probably less than 5 miles, which was nothing, for old me. And I almost made it to the library and was hardly able to walk. I was in so much pain because my hip kind of, well, all my joints are not great because of this underlying condition, but my hip kind of overcorrects for the problems with the knee. And so my hip was feeling like it was just bone on bone. It was so painful. And just having that and that disconnect of, what you feel you're able to do and what you're actually able to do is still really hard, even though it's been a couple of years. And so that was mentally and emotionally really weighing on me this week, and it just kept getting brought back up as those different like picture memories kept coming up. So it's been an emotional, stressful, depressed week about that. But I wound up channeling it into a lot of other stuff, so to get my mind off of that. So I did get my David Mack pictures framed, so that is done. I just need to figure out the layout. It's gonna be a little weird, and get those hung. So I want to try to do that tomorrow if I have the energy to do that. And then I also cleared out a ton of stuff out of my closet. So that was something I had needed to do, and a bunch of stuff that either doesn't fit me right now or is like super duper summery stuff that I'm not going to be using anytime soon. well, I hope not. Today we're back up into the upper 80s, and tomorrow we're supposed to hit 90. So maybe I will need summer stuff, but hopefully it's just this couple days. We're supposed to go back down into the 70s again next week. So yeah. So a bit of a heavy week, but honestly, the reading was a great distraction. I got so sucked into these kind of horror thrillers where I just was page turning like wild. I have not had that in probably months. So, on recommendations, even though I'm so far behind, I do have one recommendation. So Sam's Nonsense is back on YouTube. That is so exciting. I absolutely love Sam's channel. Big time fantasy reader, I think. But this is why you never unsubscribe from channels that you love, because even if they're gone for months or years, sometimes they do come back. And so I was so happy to see Sam pop back up on my feed, and perfect timing because Sam is always very into the cozy vibes and like atmosphere setup of her channel. So yeah, I think cozy and holiday is the right time for her to be back. So I'm super excited. I will link her below. So it was a bit of a heavy week for me, but I think a very good one. Thank you so much for watching.